from LEGO Marvel Superheroes. The evil Loki has unleashed an alien invasion. You can build a Quinjet to stop him from destroying the city. Assemble the Avengers. Fire up the engines. Blast into action. Activate your superhero powers to stop the invasion and to protect the city. New from LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Each set sold separately.
Hi everybody, and welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and today we're going on location to conduct an interview to a nearby comic book store that my son likes to frequently attend, not only obviously because it's a comic book store, but because they run something called Brick University, Brick U. So we're going to talk to the co-owners, where they're going to tell us about their store, and also about Brick U, Brick University, where they're going to tell us about how they conduct these classes for kids on how to learn new techniques of building with Lego blocks. Let's go on location now. All right, guys, we're here at Funny Business in Nyack, where we also do Brick University, which we'll tell you about in a few minutes. And our guests today are Brett Barland and Chris Barchuk. Hey, guys, how are you?
What's going on?
Good.
Now, obviously, your main store here is comics, toys, Legos, that sort of thing. But I know that you guys, as I mentioned before, have a little side thing in a different building that my son attends almost every week. Yep. But let's start with your background. How did you guys meet, and what were you into when you were younger, when you were their age?
Well, I'll start first. I believe we kind of have similar backgrounds, Chris and I. We both loved toys and comic books when we were a kid. I had a lot of toys, all the different kinds, but I tended to go towards a lot of the building blocks when I was young.
Okay.
And I was very creative with my hands and all that. So I kind of stayed with the Legos for pretty much my whole life while I was still collecting comic books and toys.
Were there any other Lego knockoffs at the time that you might have been into? Or was it all...
That's right. As a matter of fact, that is so funny because nobody even remembers that. You can't even find it online, pretty much.
And this is mid-'80s you're talking about?
This is actually probably 1970s.
Wow.
It was
my first Lego set.
Spanish knockoff called Tenty.
And they would sold them in the States?
They sold them in the States because I believe Hasbro or one of the toy companies
Picked it up for a short period of time.
Right. To try to bring it over to the States.
And they had licensed product because they had I think a Pepsi Cola truck.
Pepsi truck, Exxon.
Yeah.
And can you have those interact with Legos, or they wouldn't fit?
No, they don't fit.
Oh, okay. That came on later when they tried to make them fit. Okay.
My first Lego set was in 1973. I was 3 years old. My grandma got me my first police car. It was pre-minifigures.
Huh.
But, and I've never stopped since then.
Now, would you consider yourself a collector back then, or just a kid playing with them?
Kid playing with toys.
You destroyed some of them, but you somehow kept...
Yeah, my Legos, I mean, for some reason, there was a certain point in my life that I decided to start saving my toys and not destroying them.
The boxes, too?
Well, that came a little later. I don't know how that came about, because it wasn't an anal kid or anything, but I don't know. I just decided to save my toys from being destroyed. I figured the best place to keep them would be back in their play sets or in the original boxes that I would get them in. So I started saving that stuff.
Wow. How about you, Chris?
Look, I was just always I was always a superhero kid. My father probably bought me my first comic book when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I think it was Justice League number 176 might have been the first comic that I was bought. And I always just kept reading comic books, and I used to draw out of comic books when I was a kid. And then when I was like 8 years old, my neighbor 2 doors down owned a stationery store. And at that time, they started switching their stationery store over to a comic book store. And they had me start coming over and bagging and boarding books for them. And then they would pay me in comic books. And I was 8 years old, so I was like, wait, this thing says it's 15 cents. And they were like, no. That's like a $40 book. And then all of a sudden, like, that's it. I was hooked.
You're doing the numbers in your head.
15, yeah, but I was doomed to be in this business. I mean, my dad used to take me out, like, every Saturday searching for Mego dolls. And when I was a kid, me and my brother and my cousin, my father was like, you couldn't just have one stormtrooper. My father would just keep coming home with stormtroopers because you needed
you're
a
so
battalion
lucky.
of them.
Troop building. You're
Yeah,
lucky.
you know, like
Yeah.
my father was just like, you can't just have one. So I was kind of doomed for this life. I think not that it's not bad though.
Now, at what point did you start being a little more careful with your toys and saving them and
When
keeping
my-
them mint or something like that?
Everything. I started the saving of things probably by about 8-9 years old when my neighbors
Wow.
started pointing out that things were worth money that I had, and and then I started saving like all my old Mego dolls and making sure I had all the gloves and everything. And then when I was 19, my mom threw out my whole collection of Mego dolls.
Everybody has a nightmare story like
everybody
that.
does. I
We
went
hear a
away
lot
for
of them in the
spring
store.
break, and my mom chucked everything.
We get tons of those stories in here. Every day we get a story about that.
Wow. Now, fast forward, you're older now. You start, working at different places and this and that. At what point do you guys return to this kind of thing?
Well, I returned to this in my early 20s.
Okay.
I got involved on more of the business end of it, working at a store. And I worked at a store I worked at it was Wizard World back then. I worked there for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And then I left that, kind of got out of the whole industry as a whole, moved to Australia for a while. And then while I was in Australia, Brett opened up the store.
But did you guys
We
know each
knew-
other
yeah,
already?
we knew-
When
yeah,
did you guys
we-
meet? Like, how old were you when you met?
I was 16 when me and Brett met.
I met Chris when he was in 10th grade, and I was in 11th
11th.
grade. We were at a mutual friend's house one day, and our friend said, "Hey, this guy is into the same thing that you are. I can't even believe you don't know each other." And I was like, "Well, what's his name?" And he brought me over to him, and he was laying on the couch, and I was like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Chris." So I was like, "So I hear you like comic books." He's like, "Yeah, dude, you don't even know." And then from
was
that
it.
point,
He speaks your language.
Yeah,
I've known Chris
Yeah.
ever since.
definitely.
So you guys meet, you like to talk about stuff, but there's no business at that point.
No,
So
there's no business
always-
at that point. We talked
always
about it.
thought about
We
opening
talked
up a
about it. We
business.
thought about it. When
like
I
a
left,
dream.
when I left Wizard, I spoke to him about it. We
Just
kind of
looked around.
yeah,
We
we kind of
floated
looked.
with
I
the
looked
idea.
around at some places. It wasn't the right time. It just didn't materialize. And then
Then he
like I said,
disappears.
then I left for Australia, and I was in Australia for 4 years. And then one day I turned around and I called Brett up. And I was like, "Yo, I'm coming home in like 4 or 5 months." And he was like, "Good," because I opened up a store. And I was like, "What?"
Well, speaking of which, what led to that? How did you all of a sudden switch gears? Or
Well-
basically started a second gear?
So I'm in the construction game, and I do home improvement and framing.
We
and all
both
that.
do, and-
yes. So what happened was I've been doing it for such a long time that I figured, okay, I really need to start saving my body. This work's getting a little tough. The older you get, the harder it is.
Of course.
And with the passion that I have with the toys and the Lego and all that, and what was going on with the times, a lot of movies and a lot of of all these classic stories are starting to come to fruition on film. And
What year are we talking about here? What range is this? Like
4 years ago.
just about 4 years ago.
Really? That's
yeah,
it?
that's when we
Yeah.
opened this business.
Wow.
But what happened was while he was in Australia, I had the opportunity to open up this business in this spot that we are now in Nyack. And originally in the store, what it was is this 2-floor building. And it was an actual mortgage company at first. And
Downstairs, yeah.
Downstairs
Where
on
we
the
are
first
now.
floor. And on the second floor, it was a very small office space. But the landlord was nice enough to let me try out my idea and gave me about a 300 square foot space to open up a toy and comic book store.
If that.
So you could display about 6 comics, basically.
Pretty much.
Pretty much,
and
yeah.
the funny thing is even though I had all my back issues, I had about 20,000 comics. Yeah, well, you say wow until he
Until
tells
you meet me,
his
I
story.
probably had close to 40,000 when we opened the store.
So, yeah, up in the little space, I was trying whatever I could to bring in something a little different into the town.
Okay.
So I was very good with Lego because I never stopped using it. And since I had so much of it, I decided to make a little display area up in that 300 square foot space of about 100 square foot of Lego.
Okay.
And it started making
Started drawing people.
a name for itself. People were like, "Hey, man, you got to really see what this guy's doing up there."
But can anybody see anything from outside?
No, they
No.
couldn't
There's
even
no
see it.
the windows or anything?
No.
So what I
There
had
are
to
windows,
do-
but you can't see out of it. It was because of street fairs that year.
Yeah, and I had this little
Oh.
tiny wooden cutout of a Lego guy that I drew outside.
Oh,
with
yeah,
his
yeah, I
hand
remember
pointed up
that.
saying, "Hey, come on in and
upstairs.
check it out."
Okay.
Now, I have to be honest, was a little sketchy. Somebody seen a little Lego guy outside going, "Hey, come on upstairs to the second floor."
What's going on up there?
But but when people did come in, they were coming out like, "Wow, you have to see what's upstairs." So we were starting to get a little bit of a presence here and starting to do a little bit of business.
And it kind of fits this town, I would imagine. This is kind of like
it's an artsy town,
artsy
small village.
It also, there's a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people who live in the area because when me and Brett were growing up and we were young kids, we always used to hang out in Nyack because there was a store, M&M Comics, which is now out of business.
Oh, wow.
But for years, that was the place to go to in Rockland County. That was the place. If you were a comic geek and you wanted comic books, that's where everybody went.
Oh, yeah.
So, it brings a lot of nostalgia for a lot of the guys who are now our age who have little kids. They see the store and they go, "Oh, I remember when." And next thing you know, they're bringing their kids in all the time.
Now, at what point did you guys decide, we have all this Lego stuff here, why don't we do some kind of a class? And, how did Brick University develop?
Yeah, so the thing happened,
like 7 months after we opened up, I would say.
Oh, what happened was I had a lot of back product when I was upstairs.
Okay.
And even though I was selling it, I had so much of it that we saw what was going on and the response we were getting. We said we need a bigger spot. So Arlene gave us a little taste of the downstairs, and we opened up this place. Now the square footage got doubled.
Which is where we're standing right now.
Right now on the first floor. And then we decided to bring in all this product. Chris brought in his part of business, which was... Go ahead, Chris. How many comic books?
Yeah, probably 45,000 comic
books. Were you still using upstairs for storage or no? You just moved everything down here?
We moved everything down here. And then we were here for... It was a couple months after we opened up here.
I had so much...
That we just decided, let's look for a way to also bring in some money without actually having to lay out money
and buying new product
Right,
so we said let's do these classes and let's start teaching. He's an awesome builder, Brett, so it was like, why not teach kids how to do what you do?
Now the supplies you have, even before we even get into this, explain to me how Brick University works. Like, how are the classes scheduled?
I own and operate a Lego studio, is what I call it, and it's basically like an artist studio, except instead of paint and canvas all around, it's all Lego product. It's all separated into its shape, size, and color. So it is a little different than most people that use Lego.
A lot of people are just like that was one of the things when we opened the Lego studio. I am a very anal person. My comic collection was always, everything was alphabetized, numeric order, like 40,000 comics. I made sure I stayed on top of it. So when I saw his Lego collection, I was like, no, I cannot work in here.
Like, who's going to sort this out?
I was like, we need to start sorting this stuff, Brett. And he looked at me, he was like, "Are you insane?"
Do you know kind of in Denver?
We have to.
I do, because I tried doing it with Kyle a while back, and it lasted about 20 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you have the patience and you have the team and you have
the boxes, we had it all. We had a plan, colors, shapes. Nope, didn't work.
Yeah. So the studio space is laid out that way, and it's so conducive for building.
It looks like a little Lego factory.
It's amazing.
There's at least one of everything in there.
Yeah.
So what it is since I was doing a lot of building I'm part of a group of adult builders, besides what I do here and some of my own commission work and all my own personal stuff. I also build with a whole bunch of very talented builders, and it's called I Love New York. We're the New York Lego group. And with that, I build big displays and all this kind of stuff.
And
commission work.
Tell us where we can see those.
350 square foot town and train displays and all that.
Yikes.
We do,
Where
libraries, museums, and all kinds
like
of shows.
Every April we do one. It gets done over at Lyndhurst Castle.
Oh, that's the one we went to.
Yes. Yeah, so we do that. That's an every April one.
I build for the Lego store windows also.
Yeah.
We display small vignettes in the Lego store windows.
Which one? The one in the city?
All of them.
Or all of them?
I Love New York pretty much handles everything in the tri-state area.
How about conventions? You guys do some conventions?
We've done a couple here or there. We did New York Comic Con with the Lug Group. We did a 250 square foot layout that Lego had asked us to do a fan display.
Now, who supplies the pieces for that? You guys do?
It's all the owners of their
we supply the pieces. Lego reimburses for our pieces that we used and all that later on down the road. but we had to initially use all of our brick.
But you kind of pre-assemble it somewhere.
Yes.
And you bring it
a lot
in
of it was
chunks.
built
Like
and
the
then,
studio.
Yeah. Like we pre-built buildings and roadways
But
were
then
built.
do you get them back, or do they
Yes.
stay with them? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got everything back at the end, but Lego compensated everybody
Wow.
for their time with brick, which was awesome of them. Lego, is great like that.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Like, you talked about all this inventory you had, and that's what gave you the materials needed to start it. But do you still need to keep supplying it, or
Always.
It's a never-ending battle because you never know what you're going to need. I mean, for one, I can get a phone call tomorrow asking me to build a logo of letterhead, and they want it 30 inches tall. I mean, that's that's
a lot
not
of
5
brick.
Lego bricks. That's 1,500 Lego
that's
bricks
a
per
solid
letter.
chunk
Right.
of material?
Yeah.
And some pieces are just they're expensive pieces. A 1x1 blue Lego piece is like 60 cents. So if you're doing a mosaic, you run through like
Wow.
a ton of. So
You constantly use brick no
you're
matter where
always
you're getting it.
you're always like, as you build stuff, you need to replenish. You always need to replenish because there are just pieces that are harder to get than others.
Now, the classes you run, tell me about how many kids are there? Like, how long do the classes last? Is there themes? Who selects what gets done? How does that work?
So basically, the studio time.
Just to let you know, he is the master of that domain. So I might throw out some suggestions, but yeah, Brett's the master of that domain.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we do there is while I'm building these commission pieces or I'm doing all kinds of other builds in that room, I figured let me open up the space to let local kids in or anybody who loves Lego. It doesn't matter if it's a kid who's 5 years old or a kid who's 95 years old. Because we're all kids at heart.
Well.
So at this point, I said, hey, let me just open up this studio space, charge $10 an hour for these kids to come in or anybody who wants to come in and build Lego, not sets, but from their mind and from my selection of Lego that's already
It's all about the creativity. We had a lot of parents complaining to us that they were buying sets and buying sets and buying sets, and the kids would build them, put them together, they'd play with it
Then
for
they
a
want another
week,
set.
and then they'd dump it in a Rubbermaid container, and then they wouldn't build with it, which is like a travesty because Lego is meant to be disassembled and reuse
that's
those
just
pieces.
half the purpose of Legos.
So that's kind of where Brett got the idea of, like, yeah, we should do this. Like, that's kind of, I think, where the idea of it was birthed, was hearing that and hearing parents say those things. He was like, we need to teach these kids. You shouldn't be doing that.
And then, when it comes to the specialty classes, like I'll run every so often I'll run big classes where I'll have groups of kids come in and we'll do a theme build. So
Okay.
it lasts like a month long and it's 4 individual sessions for the build.
But it's a group project.
But it's a group project.
Okay.
Those are you would have to sign up to think about these classes. It's usually related to the business that we're doing, superheroes, Star Wars, science fiction. I mean, that's what all these kids love, and that's what all Lego builders pretty much love too.
Yeah, we've done some pretty cool ones.
Yeah. So, when it comes to the specialty classes, like I'll run a Batman tumbler build where I'll have
We actually have that coming up.
We do. We have that coming up. We have a custom built tumbler by a fantastic builder, Thoreau.
Rick.
He let me use the design. Said, hey, if you wanted to show these kids how to build an awesome Batmobile, better than even Lego can make, then here, go ahead, use my design. Wow. So I have a Batman tumbler build, custom tumbler build coming up. Because it
Kids
pertains
get
to
to keep
everything.
the tumbler when they build it.
They build it. It's a little bit more expensive class.
So they're not working on. You don't have like 6s working on one. They're
No.
individual ones.
This is
Yeah.
this is going to
okay.
be because this kid's the tumbler that Rick made. It's minifigure scale and it's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. He did such a great design on it, and it's small enough that the kids can build it and then keep it.
Cool. Wow, that's cool. Because
Yeah.
I know Lego just put out the 2,000 piece tumbler,
Yes,
which
the
is
big
like
one.
wow,
Yeah.
that's a little bigger than scale.
Yeah.
And do most of these projects people can buy them when they're done, or
With
depends on
the
project?
Lego Studio, yes, I give the opportunity for people whoever want to build and take home their project that they build. That is a possibility. It just has to. I just need a little time to figure out the piece count.
Usually when we're doing like a specialized class, like a tumbler or a Minecraft class, we're charging more on one of those classes because they are keeping what they're building.
Oh, okay, it's built into that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
but if a kid builds something in the open build that we do, where they just build from their imagination, we'll just figure out what the cost is you know,
figure out
for
how
the
many
amount of
pieces you got there
pieces,
going
and we'll
and that sort of thing,
we'll
right.
figure it out, and that's how the kid can always buy it if he really wants it.
Let me ask you guys, and this applies to both of you. Your background in construction, does that help you with designing and figuring out what to do with these Legos, or and does it work the other way around? Does that help you when you're doing a job somewhere?
It helps me. Well, not the latter, but what it does is it does help.
It does help because you just think about things a little bit differently. You think about the strength and the structure, and you have the knowledge of how to build it. Like, yeah, and Brett comes up with really
Is it
some really
engineering skills,
ingenious.
architecture
It
skills,
is. It's
that
just a
sort of
lot of
thing?
carpentry. It's a lot of
Yeah, Brett
architecture.
comes up with some really cool ways to use pieces that even I don't even think of, and he just has a way of thinking about using Legos sometimes that is pretty amazing.
This is the thing with Lego. It's just like anything. It's just like riding a bike. The more you use it, the better you get at it. So
Yeah, you learn the pieces and stuff.
You think of things that you just don't think of normally with Lego. One doesn't go on top of each other. You turn it over to the side. You make it smooth. It becomes like glass.
Right.
So there's like all these different kind of techniques that you use. And I show a lot of these techniques. And they're shocked when they see them. They're like, wow. And it makes them better.
And then they can apply it when
They can
do
apply
their
it to
own
their
thing.
builds, yeah.
So even though I joke around with these kids a lot, because the atmosphere in there, it's very, all the kids get along with each other. Anybody who's in there, because they're all Lego fans. So that they speak the same language.
They speak.
So they just love it. They come up great creations.
Yeah.
Now, if you are the Lego guy, who is the comic book guy and who is the toy guy?
Okay,
Toys
I will
are
answer
both-
this. Hold
toys
on
are
one
both of
second.
us.
Before you even go anywhere, I have to say this. I am definitely the Lego guy. Chris, I don't even know if he even had a Lego set when he was a kid.
I don't think I was never into Legos.
His
Besides,
first
like
Lego
maybe
set?
building a wall from like my action figures.
His first
I
Lego
never
set
used
Die
them.
around us for your figures.
It wasn't until I was like in my 20s that Brett started
Right.
getting
I
me
was
to
gonna
build
say,
Lego.
When I brought him down to my basement of my house in Mardonia is when I think the first time he saw a Lego set. But when it comes to comic books, I have to say, I don't know anything past 1985. This guy knows everything about every
I wouldn't
comic
go that
book,
far, but,
pretty much.
but I
Almost.
do have a pretty good knowledge of comic books. Yeah.
But when it comes to toys, I think we're both
Yeah, we're both
pretty
good.
much hand in hand. When
When it comes to toys, we both know a lot
Do you
about
think
toys.
you have a specialty? Like, is somebody more Star Wars? Is somebody more superhero? Is somebody, you know?
I think
or
we
you're
both love
mix it
toys
up?
so much.
Yeah, I think we just
that
both
we
love
know.
toys.
Chris and I have this gift, the gift of knowing what is just hot and not.
Cool.
Because
What's
cool
What's
and not. Because
cool?
look, if we see something in a previews magazine or something coming up, and we both go, "Wow, that is cool," we know.
We know.
It's gonna be cool. Because we're both
You don't have to
saying, "It's
convince
cool.
each other
Yeah,
out.
it's
we
cool."
very rarely do we have to convince one another. of
We've been in this
something.
game for so long that most of the stuff that we've collected our whole life, we don't have anymore because everybody's bought it.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
I mean, when we opened the store 4 years ago, all the merchandise in here was totally different because
Yeah, first
all gone.
first year and a half, we didn't even sell new comic books. We lived solely on back issues.
Wow.
collectibles.
Your
Yeah, and
lifelong
toys and-
inventory.
Yeah,
I mean, I did shed a tear when I sold my first, when I sold my 19, when I sold my Amigo, my Spider-Man
Oh,
Amigo.
yeah.
I shed a tear, but I know it went to a good home because she sold it to a college kid. So
It
other
almost
than
sounds
that,
like you're adopting pets or something. It's
it
like
was.
you're-
Well, this
kinda
my
is.
partner here has
you're-
taught me over the
it's like
years.
a puppy mill.
Let it go. You've had it for so long.
yeah.
Let it go.
I've definitely learned if you can get money for it, take it, take it. Because I've seen way too many times where something is hot at one moment, and 2 years later you come back and the prices are half of what they used to be. So if you're making money, sell it, make money. Telling everybody, if you have Walking Dead #1, sell it.
But with that said, do you guys still hang on to something that's very personal or memorable?
No.
There are a couple of things in the store. Don't lie.
Well, there are a couple of things in the store that I won't sell.
Yeah.
So I have a poster up here. So the old store I used to work with, we used to be part of what was called the DC Comics RRP program. And it was a program that DC Comics used to do back in the day where they had the top 300 retailers from around the world that they'd pull them all into one spot. And they'd try and pick our brains about what we liked about what they're doing, what they didn't like about what we're doing. I actually wish they would bring those back. They were great. They were fantastic. But one year, Sergio Aragonés, they had him do a poster of day in the life of a comic book store. And I happen to love Sergio Aragonés. I think he's just amazing.
That's the top one.
And
The little
that's it
drawings
right
on the
up
spine
there.
of Mad Magazine.
And up in the top,
Wow.
it says my name. Like everybody, when they gave them out to everybody, Sergio Aragonés autographed it. He put our name up in the top as the store name. So I would never sell that. That's just a personal favorite of mine. And I also have a Real Action Heroes Bruce Lee doll
Oh.
that everybody asks about when they come in here. He's
Is
kind
it
of
here
like,
somewhere?
yeah, he's kind of tucked
Oh,
in
yeah.
the back
Oh,
over
I see
there.
him right there. There we
everybody
go.
Everybody asks about him. Everybody wants him. I don't sell him because his head is broken. And then I
Godzilla.
also have a Godzilla,
Oh, this is
also
the
the
coolest
Real
thing.
Action Hero Godzilla.
Thing's
And it's
awesome.
awesome because it's a rubber suit with an action figure inside of
Yeah.
it with
What?
foam around
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
What
So
year is that
the
from?
Chinese doll inside
It's
is
not
awesome.
that. I probably bought that.
I can't believe you haven't sold it yet.
I probably bought that about 15 years ago, maybe 16 years ago.
Is it supposed to be the actor, the actual actor?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be
Yeah,
like.
it's
It's
the
supposed
Toho-
to be
it's the
like,
Toho actor.
yeah, it's the Toho version where it's got
Wow.
a guy inside of it. He's got foam on him, but the guy
I
inside.
wonder if he knows they
broke
ever
over the
manufactured
years.
that.
The guy inside broke, so now I don't sell him either. He kind of just sits up top as a cool little secret thing that you find here in the store.
It's like a Where's Waldo in here. It's
Yes.
like, what's that all about? All right, well, let me ask you just one more question here. In the last couple of years, maybe I would say maybe the last 5 to 10 years, more or less, you know, with geek and nerd culture kind of permeating things a little
chic.
more than ever before,
Yeah.
you know, do you guys think we're kind of riding a wave right now, or do you think it's the beginning of it, or maybe it's starting to collapse?
No, I think it's
And how does that
I think it's
affect
the
your
beginning
business?
of it, too.
I think it's the beginning of it. I think people, I mean, you see it with the movies. I mean,
Yeah, 4 out of 5 movies are comic book
Yeah, no
related.
kidding.
comic books have this, there is this wealth
Timeless.
of stories that just were nobody was ever able to do anything with until the last several years,
CGI.
where the graphics finally caught up with what a superhero should be. So there is just this treasure trove of stories that they can mine
Well, it
for
didn't-
potential movies.
It
and-
didn't happen in the 70s, which, as popular as the Superman film was, it didn't kick there.
It didn't.
In the 90s, it looked like it started to ferment a little bit
Yeah.
with,
Well,
with
'cause
the
it did.
X-Men and
It-
Blade and
it
stuff like
did,
that.
yeah.
But I think, when do you think it really went nuts?
When Marvel got their hands
when
on
Marvel started doing their own studio movies,
Iron Man?
Iron Man,
it. Iron Man.
yeah, I'll
Hulk.
even give it a
Maybe
little
the
bit
Incredible-
before that.
the
Maybe
Incredible
the
Hulk.
second,
Maybe a little
the
Hulk, the
second,
second
yeah,
Hulk,
the second Incredible Hulk movie.
I'd like to throw in Captain America.
Yeah, whatever. I don't like that first Captain America movie. We have this argument all the time.
So you guys think it's, I mean, obviously it's helping the business, whether it's the comic book business or even the Lego business.
Oh,
I mean,
big time.
Yeah.
the licensing with Marvel and
Licensing,
Lego is
everything,
still
yeah.
going strong.
Lego, as a matter of fact, I'm sure you know because you might have updated your listeners. Lego just became well, actually,
No,
they
not
did it
just
a couple.
became.
Yeah,
It's
they did
been
it a
a
couple
while.
of months ago. Actually, in the beginning of last year, I think,
Yeah,
or
they
halfway
became the
through last
number
year.
one selling toy.
But they didn't announce it to everybody until just.
Yeah, they did.
No, it was just like announced big time the other day.
Yeah, I did see that.
To the
I
world
did see that article.
that Mattel is no longer the number one toy company in the
Wow.
world.
Lego is.
And that's big news. As a matter of fact, I think it's so upsetting to Mattel that they went out and bought Mega Blocks to think that they could.
To hope
Oh yeah,
that-
they did.
To hope they can compete.
They spend a ton of money on Mega Blocks.
Try to get some of that
And,
Lego market.
Look, hopefully they'll be able to do something with it and
Make a
turn
better
it into
plastic.
Lego. It'll work.
Wow. All right. Well, tell me, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they see what you guys are doing? How can they sign up for some of the classes? I mean, I know you mentioned that you guys do like birthday parties and stuff like that.
Yes, we do
Yes.
birthday parties. We do the classes. Look, you can always reach us. You can always come into the store. We're right in Nyack, right on Main Street, next to Bourbon Street. 130 Main Street is our address. You can always find us on Facebook. We have a couple of different Facebook pages. You can find us at Funny Business Online. You can also find us at Brick University on Facebook. And there is also a Flickr page, which is BBB Creations, Triple B.
You see a lot of really cool. Lego
You see a lot of our
pictures
cool
and
Lego builds
even
and
pictures
stuff
of the
like
store
that.
and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Like that.
and then you can also, look, you can always call us.
Oh, yeah.
845-348-4747.
Yeah, we love talking to you in person. It's great.
And if you ever want to just chat comic books, come on down to the store. I like to think of our store as the barbershop of comic books because a lot of people do not have an outlet to discuss their passion for
Yes.
comic books and toys. You never know what you're going to find when you walk in here. Sometimes
Wednesday
you'll see
nights,
15
forget about
people
it.
in here just all hanging out, just
like a
talking
party.
about what's going on in comic books and toys and Lego, in movies, TV, whatever it is.
Well, all you need is like a coffee stand and some
That's
tables.
about it,
And
man.
That's the next phase.
If I had enough space,
we got to knock the wall down and go next door or
Yeah,
something.
the comic book shop in Kick-Ass would be nothing compared to this one.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
All right, well, I would like to once again thank Brett and Chris for letting us come to the store to find out a little bit more about what they do and all about Brick University. Don't forget, if you're in Nyack, here's a comic book store to visit. And if you're into Lego building, here's a perfect place to perfect your technique of how to build with Legos. So, on behalf of everybody here at GeekFest Rants, I'd like to thank you for listening, and we will see you here next time at GeekFest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living a dream.
Fearing Cobra Commander no longer has the ability to lead, Destro and Dr. Mindbender comb the tombs of the most evil leaders in history, and from their genetic tissues produce a composite clone with the military genius of Napoleon, the ruthlessness of Julius Caesar, the daring of Hannibal, and the cunning of Attila the Hun. Behold the ultimate Cobra Emperor, Serpentor. Serpentor! The most evil one, G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe! American hero! What happens next? Find out in Marvel Comics.